It was part 3 in round 1 between the Oilers and Kings, and the Oilers came away once again with a win. Year 1, it was a 7-gamer. Year 2, it was 6. This year, it took just 5 games for the Oilers to move past their Pacific Division rivals. And Frank, when you look at the differences in this series, it really came down to high-end skill. One team's power play ran at 45%. One team has Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. The other team just couldn't keep up.
Clearly outclassed the LA Kings. That is one part of this equation. And the other part is the Edmonton Oilers, you can tell, really learned something. You listen to Leon Draisaitl after the game talking about the maturity that this team has shown. They've shown it all year. They could have buckled and rolled over and had this be one of the darkest seasons in franchise history with the way they started this year. As Connor McDavid has used the phrase, they came back from the dead. They're stronger for it. And more than that, they're showing us in this first round series that they're learning lessons. 7 games 2 years ago, 6 games last year, 5 games this year. And it wasn't just the number of games. It was game to game fixing the mistakes that you make. Game 1, you show that you're on another level. Game 2, you have a bit of a hiccup because you don't bring the same juice. And of course, LA ramps it up a little bit in game 2. Game 3, you take it again to another level. Game 4, you need to learn how to win a different way with Stuart Skinner bailing you out, playing great in net, building up his confidence. And game 5, you bend, certainly in the last few minutes, and you don't break. I see lots of positive signs moving forward for Edmonton. Not only does this route to the Stanley Cup final or the Western Conference final set up nicely for them in terms of opponents, it was never going to get easier than the LA Kings, but you have to take care of business and you have to try and make the series as short as possible. And they accomplished that on all fronts. May not have been pretty at every moment, but they really showed me a lot in this first round series.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, again, I talked about the power play, 45%. The PK for the Oilers was outstanding in that series, 100%. It's the first time in franchise history they've gone an entire playoff series without allowing a power play goal. But I also thought some of the depth on Edmonton looked really good as well. I think that third line centered by Ryan McLeod, they didn't get any offense going, but they didn't allow a lot of offense in that game. And I think when you're looking at what you need from sort of the bottom 6 for the Oilers, you want energy and you want no mistakes. And that's exactly what they got from it. Stuart Skinner, solid .910 save percentage, and also a bunch of goals in that series that just flat out were bad luck. He had 2 in game 1 go in off his defenseman's skate. He had 1 yesterday that, again, bounced off a stanchion and went right in front. Like, .910 and a .259 are good numbers, but he was better than these numbers suggest. And I think that's a massive thing for the Oilers as they head into round 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree to a certain extent. I know that the Kings didn't get nearly as much rubber, but when you come through the first 2 games with an .857, first off, it shows how much better he played in the last 3. But they don't really ask how in terms of the weirdness. They just ask what went behind you. And that's the thing. Same thing with the Kings. There was some belly aching and bitching about the officiating. You lost the series 4-1. It was 5 games. I can tell you for certain that officiating had a 0.0% impact on who the winner of this series was.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly, maybe in 60 seconds, where do the LA Kings go from here? Is this a team that just, $20 million in cap space, you go get a goalie, try to add another impact piece and run it back next year?
No, I think you have some real fundamental questions. I think they've had some significant roster construction and asset management mistakes that they've made. The Pierre-Luc Dubois trade and then subsequent contract that came on the back of that looms large. This is a player that seemed to be non-competitive for the Kings, was only noticeable in bad ways, and now has 7 years left, to go on this deal that I think when you look at his body of work so far this season and the vocal criticism that he received from teammates, this is a guy that you have to consider buying out. More than that, what about the rest of the team? How do you find a way to get yourself into the echelon or tier that Edmonton, Vegas, and you watch Vancouver come from behind and pass you this year? That's a significant issue for the Kings moving forward. I think everything should be on the table, not just finding a new head coach with interim Jim Hiller, but also really examining the general manager position and the work that Rob Blake's done.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. By the way, if they were to buy out Pierre-Luc Dubois, just looking at cap friendly right now, it would be dead cap space for 14 seasons, but it would come with savings of 6.89 this year and 6.9 the year after. I mean, it's savings for the next 7 years, which you could look at it as a positive, I guess, as well.
More than that, it's a $31 million real cash savings on a player that you think doesn't work, or I think doesn't work.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.